The Anbernic RG503, a budget retro gaming handheld that Russ from Retro Game Corp states will not run Sega Saturn or N64. Well, he says it's slow. A month has passed by since his review, so naturally, I'm curious. Has the emulation on the RG503 improved? Let's take a closer look. Personally, I have been enjoying the Anbernic RG503. It performs better than the Pokebox Pro that I took a look at a month ago. And overall, looking past some of my dislikes, it's not a bad handheld for the price. Let's jump straight into N64, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, and PSP emulation. If you're curious about the specs, battery life, the pros, the cons, check the timestamps down below. Now, back when Retro Game Corp reviewed the Anbernic RG503 a month ago, Russ stated Sega Saturn was slow and unplayable, but I had a different experience. Nights in a Dream seemed to run really well, running between 35 and 40 FPS. I thought it was pretty playable. However, after beating the first boss, it got stuck on a white screen and wouldn't move to the second level. More than likely, it was a file issue. Off camera, I played as Claris, and it made it to the second level without freezing on a white screen. Now let's move on to Panzer Dragoon, which runs at an average 34 FPS. It seems smooth enough to me, and audio sounded pretty good. Definitely have to revisit this series. Alright, so this footage made me a liar. It appears that Panzer Dragoon has sporadic frame rates and choppy audio at times. It must have been another playthrough, or I just pulled it out of my I did notice that for some reason, at some point, the controls would just randomly stop responding. I had to put it into sleep mode and then wake it up again for the controls to start working again. I'm not entirely sure what was going on here. Now, Bug 2 seemed to run between 30 and 38 FPS. Jumping and walking seemed a little slow, but if I'm remembering correctly, that's how the game ran originally. What you talking about, Willis? Those jumps are obviously slower than they were back in the day. Now, I did notice that it took forever to load after dying, and occasionally the game froze during gameplay. Moving on to the Sega Dreamcast, which you'll find there aren't a lot of preloaded games. Sonic Adventure 2 at times fluctuated, especially during the truck scene, but for the most part stayed in the 50 FPS range. Seems like most of these Dreamcast games should probably be locked at 30 FPS because they like to play at 40 FPS and then drop down to 30 anyway. Crazy Taxi was no different, starting in the 40s and then dropping into the 30s. On a lower note, as you can see, apparently I suck, even though I remember being a lot better at Crazy Taxi. Oh well.
Yo, I want to go to HMV. Hey, make a left. Yeah. Hey, make a left.
Running out. Took a little too long.
Don't work too hard.
Next time.
The Anbernic RG503 plays N64 games really well, with most games playing at around 60 frames per second. Mario 64 was running at close to 60 FPS, but I did notice some glitching and artifacting in some areas of the game. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time at times had fluctuating frame rates, but for the most part it ran at 60 FPS. I played Castlevania, Mario Kart 64, and F-Zero, which all performed okay, with some choppy audio at times, but I want to take a closer look at Super Smash. The game starts off running in the upper 50 FPS range, but don't let it trick you. As soon as there are more enemies on screen, it drops all the way into the 40s, and you will experience artifacting and glitching. If you can look past this, it was playable, but yeah, at some point it did freeze, so there's that. Since there's a PS Vita OLED screen, I saved the best for last. And the word best doesn't describe the PSP emulation because it's okay at best. Need for Speed Most Wanted was running at a steady 30 FPS until a collision happened. Or I drifted the car and then everything went to hell. The FPS would drop to the low 20s, but shortly after jump back up to the 30s. I didn't notice any sound issues, and despite the random FPS drops, it was playable. Man, I wish I could say that Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories played amazingly, but unfortunately it looks like the little RG503 gave everything it had and just couldn't go the extra mile. It just ran poorly, constantly dropping frames, choppy audio, and eventually it stressed out the RG503 so much it forced a reset. So sad. The PSP game that likes to bring Chinese handhelds to their knees. The cutscenes ran at 30 FPS, but unfortunately, gameplay was in the mid-teens, and even though it wasn't the worst PSP God of War experience, it doesn't justify picking up the RG503 for PSP emulation. The Anbernic RG503 has a ton going for it. A 5-inch OLED screen that apparently came from the PS Vita, 5 GHz Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. OTG Type-C port for external controllers, a USB Type-C for power, micro HDMI, and a headphone jack at the top of the device. RG503 has 2 micro SD card slots, a reset, some strange chef button that I never find myself using. All this included for the low price of $135. At least that's what I got it on Anbernic's website, but if you're going the Amazon route, you're going to be paying about $169, which this device isn't worth that. The RG503 specs are pretty decent. The processor is an RK3566, which seems to perform really well, and the system barely gets hot. The handheld has a Mali G52 graphics processor, which offers pretty decent mid-range gaming performance. Unfortunately, it only has 1 gig of RAM, so running Android is probably out of the question, and it's packing a 3500 milliamp battery, which should provide about 6 hours of gameplay. Now let's get on to the cons of this handheld. Remember, this is only my opinion and doesn't necessarily make the device bad because it might not bother you as much. The analog sticks, although good, are in a really awkward place, and I experienced some discomfort over time. Now, someone on Reddit said I was lame because I wasn't fond of the D-pad. Personally, just find my fingers slipping most of the time. There isn't any stability, and it doesn't feel like a solid gaming experience. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that my thumb doesn't feel planted. Now, even though Anbernic's design team made sure the R2, L2 buttons stuck out more than the R1, L1 buttons, I still found myself working way too hard to avoid pressing the R1 button if I was aiming for the R2 button, which made for a little bit of an awkward playing situation. If you're like me, waiting on the sidelines to get your hands on an Odin Pro, and you just want a handheld to hold you over till then, the Anbernic RG503 is truly a decent value if you can look past the fact that it's not perfect at running some of your higher end consoles such as PSP. Only if Anbernic decided to put that PS Vita OLED screen in the RG522. Man, that would have been something amazing. Wouldn't have. No, that's all f***ed up. Wouldn't have that. Wouldn't have that been amazing? Wouldn't have. Man, how the f*** do you say that? Wouldn't have that been amazing? Wouldn't have that been amazing? I still don't know if that's right. It sounds all types of f***. If there's any games that you'd like to see tested on the Anbernic RG503 that were not featured in the video, let me know down below and I'll get a video on the We Deem Gaming Community Facebook group. If you found this video interesting and you'd like to see more retro Chinese gaming handhelds like the RG503, you know what to do. As for now, I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, instead of staring at my ugly mug, why don't you go ahead and check out one of our other videos? 1, 2, I'll wait. My busted face ain't going nowhere.